Have you ever heard of a ship that was so tough, so utterly stubborn, that on more than one occasion it basically told the bottom of the ocean, "Not today, I have things to do, thank you"? Well, let me introduce you to the USS Yorktown, CV-5. This isn't just any old aircraft carrier. This is the story of a legend, a ship that packed more drama and action into a few short years than most ships see in a lifetime. Now, before we get started, let's clear something up. When people hear Yorktown, they may think of the famous museum ship in Charleston, South Carolina. That's a fantastic ship, but that's the second Yorktown, CV-10. Our hero today is her predecessor, the original, the one and only CV-5. This ship's story is so epic that they named another carrier after her almost immediately. That's like being so good at your job that when you leave, your boss hires someone else and makes them legally change their name to yours. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Jaxom Talks channel. Today we're diving into the story of one of the most important US aircraft carriers of the early Pacific War, USS Yorktown CV-5. In just a few short years, she went from a peacetime Navy asset into a decisive participant in carrier warfare, ending her service at one of the most famous carrier battles of World War II. Today we will trace her life from keel to wreck, with a spotlight on her heroic and tragic role at the Battle of Midway. The Yorktown was the lead ship of her class and was laid down on May 21, 1934 at the shipyards of Newport News, Virginia. She was launched on April 4, 1936 and was sponsored by First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. On September 30, 1937, the Yorktown was formally commissioned into the United States Navy at the Norfolk Naval Base, Virginia. She was commanded by Captain Ernest D. McWhorter. In her early years, Yorktown conducted shakedown cruises and training operations traveling through the Caribbean, the Virgin Islands, Haiti, Guantanamo Bay, and the Panama Canal Zone, before returning to Norfolk in early 1938 for post-shakedown maintenance. Her specifications were impressive for the time. She had a displacement of roughly 19,800 tons or 25,500 long tons fully loaded, a length of over 820 feet and a beam of 109 feet. She was powered by 9 Babcock boilers producing 12,000 horsepower, driving 4 screws. This gave her a top speed of up to 34 knots and a range of around 12,500 nautical miles. She had an air complement typically around 85 to 90 aircraft that operated from 2 flight decks off 3 aircraft elevators and also had a hangar deck catapult. Her air wing consisted of a mix of Grumman F-4F Wildcats fighters, Douglas SBD-3 Dauntless dive bombers and Douglas TBD-1 Devastator torpedo bombers. When you look at her defense setup, she had the RCAC-XAM radar, 8 single 5-inch 38 caliber guns, 4 quad 1.1-inch 75 caliber guns, 24 20mm cannons and 24.5-inch machine guns. She was, however, lightly armored with only 4 inches of armor in most areas, including the belt, and had a wooden flight deck. Transition into wartime patrols and early Pacific assignments. As geopolitical tensions rose and war clouds gathered, Yorktown's role shifted accordingly. Before the United States formally entered the war, she participated in neutrality patrols in the Atlantic, a common assignment for U.S. naval vessels during the pre-war years. Then came December 7, 1941, Pearl Harbor. When the news broke, Yorktown was at Norfolk, Virginia, having just finished a patrol. The world had changed in an instant, and so did Yorktown's mission. There was no more neutrality. It was time to fight. She was immediately ordered to the Pacific, the focus of the war for the American Armed Forces. Her first major combat operation came in early 1942, as part of a series of raids in the Marshalls-Gilbert's area, testing the reach of U.S. carrier aviation into Japanese-held territory. The Battle of the Coral Sea and her first blood. In May 1942, Yorktown took part in the Battle of the Coral Sea that lasted between the 4th and the 8th of May 1942. This was a watershed moment, the first time in history that opposing fleets fought entirely with aircraft from carriers. The Japanese were aiming to take Port Moresby in New Guinea, which would have put Australia in serious jeopardy. The US Navy, with Yorktown and the carrier Lexington, moved to intercept. During the battle, Yorktown's pilots helped sink the Japanese light carrier Shoho, but the fight was far from one-sided. Japanese planes also found the American carriers, and Yorktown took a direct hit. A 250-kilogram bomb slammed through her flight deck and exploded deep within the ship, causing immense damage and killing or injuring over 60 crewmen. The damage sustained was assessed as significant. However, undertaking full repairs would have taken much longer than they actually had. As we'll see, the urgency of what was to come changed everything. When she arrived at Pearl Harbor, the initial damage assessment was grim. The shipyard experts took one look and said it would take at least 3 months to get her battle ready again. 3 months. The problem was, Admiral Nimitz, the commander of the Pacific Fleet, didn't have 3 months. US intelligence had cracked Japanese codes and knew a massive attack on the base at the Midway atoll was coming in a matter of days. Nimitz looked at his list of available carriers and knew he needed Yorktown. He needed her yesterday. A monumental effort began. Navy Yard personnel worked around the clock to patch her up. Estimates suggest the damage would have required several weeks, maybe even months, for a proper, thorough repair. Instead, in barely 48 hours, Yorktown was made battle-ready enough. She sailed out, but this time heading toward what would become one of the most critical naval battles of World War II. Over 1,400 workers swarmed the Yorktown. They didn't stop working around the clock, patching, welding, and jury-rigging the ship back together. They didn't make her pretty, but they did make her functional. They laid steel plates over the hole in the flight deck. They patched the hull with a combination of steel and wooden timbers. They rewired what they could and bypassed what they couldn't. The speed and intensity of those repairs speak to the pressure and urgency faced by the US Navy in 1942. As one historian put it, the Yorktown had to go from a nearly dead ship to frontline carrier in the time it takes some vessels to do a standard maintenance refit. The pivotal moment and her crucial involvement at the Battle of Midway. By early June 1942, US intelligence, thanks largely to broken Japanese codes, indicated Japanese intentions to strike at the US base on the Midway atoll. The US Navy moved quickly to set a trap. 3 carriers, which included Yorktown, were to play central roles in luring and destroying the Japanese carrier force. Yorktown arrived within the operational area with aircraft ready, despite her recent near destruction and rapid pace of her repairs. This is a testament to the desperation of the moment and the resilience of her crew and support staff. On June 4, 1942, the Battle of Midway erupted with aircraft from American carriers launching attacks on the Japanese fleet. They succeeded in sinking 3 carriers as they caught the Japanese planes refueling and rearming. But the battle wasn't over. The 4th Japanese carrier was still in the fight, and she was angry. She launched her planes and went hunting for the American carriers. They managed to find one. They had found the Yorktown. Japanese dive bombers struck Yorktown with 3 bombs. One hit the midship elevator on the starboard side. A second exploded inside the starboard side exhaust stack that crippled 5 of her 9 boilers. The third landed near the aft elevator, on the starboard side. They put out the fires. They restored power. They got the ship moving again slowly but surely. But from the air, for the surviving Japanese pilots, when undertaking battle damage assessments, it must have looked like they had sunk her. Despite this severe damage with significant loss of the boilers and power capability, Yorktown's crew and damage control parties continued to work frantically. Remarkably, for the damage sustained, the ship continued to operate. She was still able to recover and launch aircraft during the battle. Later in the afternoon, Japanese torpedo bombers, the Nakajima B-5N, managed to deliver 2 torpedo hits along Yorktown's port side. The hits destroyed her rudder system, leaving her unable to maneuver. At that point, Yorktown was crippled, but she had succeeded in her primary mission. Her air groups contributed to sinking 3 of the 4 Japanese carriers, helping turn the tide of the battle. Her sacrifice became instrumental in inflicting a strategic defeat on the Japanese Navy. As Yorktown lay immobile, with heavy damage and a growing list to port, it was judged that she could not continue fighting. On the afternoon of the 4th of June, after repeated attacks and damage assessments, the order was given to abandon ship. However, despite the abandonment, salvage crews made an attempt to save her. Yorktown was taken under tow by the destroyer USS Hammond. It was hoped that she could be brought back to port for more thorough repairs. The hopeful salvage effort was doomed to tragically fail. On June 6, 1942, the Japanese submarine I-168 found the stricken Yorktown and fired a spread of torpedoes. 2 of the torpedoes struck Yorktown. Another struck the Hammond, sinking the destroyer in about 4 minutes. This resulted in 80 of the crew dying from a total ship complement of 192. With further salvage impossible and the ship beyond recovery, the remaining personnel were evacuated. In the early morning of June 7, 1942, Yorktown succumbed to slow flooding, eventually capsizing and sinking to the seafloor. Just a few months later, on October 2, 1942, she was formally struck from the Naval Register. Thus ended the operational service of a ship that had once embodied America's carrier power in the Pacific. For decades, the final resting place of Yorktown remained unknown. But in May 1998, a maritime expedition led by famed oceanographer Robert Ballard, who discovered the Titanic, located the wreck. She was lying upright, intact, on the floor of the Pacific Ocean, roughly 5 kilometers or about 3.1 miles beneath the surface. The discovery was more than symbolic. The cold, deep waters preserved much of the ship's structure. According to modern surveys, the hull remains largely intact, and even damage from the final battle, especially near the midship elevator, is still visible. The wreck stands as a deep-sea time capsule. a haunting monument to the ferocity of carrier warfare in World War II and a tribute to the hundreds of sailors who served aboard her, many of whom did not survive. So why did the Yorktown matter and what was its strategic and symbolic impact? 1. Rapid repair turnaround. Perhaps the most extraordinary fact about Yorktown's service is that after heavy damage at Coral Sea, she was made operational again in roughly 48 hours, a feat almost unheard of for a capital ship of its size and complexity. This rapid turnaround directly enabled her participation at Midway. Without her and the extra air power she brought, the US may have lacked sufficient carriers to set the trap that defeated the Japanese carrier fleet. 2. The ultimate sacrifice for victory. Yorktown drew the brunt of Japanese aerial counterattacks at Midway. By absorbing those attacks from both bombs and torpedoes, she protected the other US carriers which survived to continue the fight. In that sense, her sacrifice contributed greatly to the larger strategic victory. 3. Proof of concept for carrier-centric warfare. Yorktown's service epitomized a shift in naval warfare away from battleships and toward aircraft carriers and air power. The loss of Yorktown affirmed how lethal and decisive carrier combat could be. 4. An enduring legacy. Even though she sank in 1942, her memory lived on. The US Navy later reused the name Yorktown for another carrier, CV-10, thus honoring the sacrifice of CV-5. Meanwhile, her final resting place, discovered decades later, continues to remind us of the human cost of war. In conclusion, the story of USS Yorktown is one of ambition, resilience, bravery, and tragic loss. She was built during peacetime, trained in modest exercises, but was thrust into the maelstrom of global war. In just a few short years, she went from a proud new carrier to one of the most famous casualties of World War II. Yet in that sacrifice, she helped secure a turning point in the Pacific War, the defeat of the Japanese carrier fleet at Midway. Her wreck lies deep beneath the Pacific, silent but still a powerful testament to the men who served aboard her, and to the shifting nature of naval warfare. For all those reasons, Yorktown remains a symbol of courage, adaptation, and the high stakes of war. So what is your favorite fact about the Yorktown? Let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like, leave a comment and subscribe so you can watch future videos. As always, thanks for watching and I will see you next time.